Admiral Susan Harris stood at the wide window of the observation deck. The stars looked the same as they always had. Cold, distant, silent. But everything had changed in the last 6 hours. She turned away from the view and walked to the command table where the senior officers of the USN Intrepid waited. Their faces showed the same mix of shock and grim determination that she felt inside. "Play it again," she said. Lieutenant Dan Miller nodded and tapped his console. The holographic display flickered to life above the table. The alien appeared again. It had greenish-gray skin that looked hard like a shell. Its 4 eyes blinked at different times. When it spoke, its mouth moved in ways that seemed wrong. "People of Earth," the alien said in perfect English, "I am Ambassador Zorik of the Viridian Collective. For 300 years, we have brought order to the chaos of the galaxy. We have united 87 worlds under our protection. Now, we extend this offer to you." Susan knew what came next. She had watched the message 17 times already, but she needed her officers to see it again, to understand what they faced. Humanity is young and unready for the dangers that exist among the stars. The collective offers you safety. We offer you knowledge. We offer you a place in our great empire. The alien's voice grew harder. You have 72 of your Earth hours to accept our generous offer. Remove your weapons from orbit. Disable your defense systems. Prepare to welcome our ships to your major cities. The alien leaned closer to the camera. If you refuse, we will be forced to take more direct action. Your species will still join the collective, but your transition will be less comfortable. The message ended. The room was quiet except for the soft beeping of instruments. "They're not asking," said Commander Bill Johnson, breaking the silence. "This isn't a negotiation. It's a demand for surrender." "Do we know anything more about them?" asked Susan, looking at the intelligence officer. Lieutenant Kate Porter shook her head. "Not much, Admiral. Our long-range scans show a fleet of 27 ships holding position just beyond Mars. Their technology is far beyond ours. Energy readings suggest weapons we can't even understand, let alone match." "The Earth Security Council is meeting right now," said Susan. "But we all know what they'll decide. Humanity doesn't bow to threats." The communications officer, Jack Brown, looked up from his station. "Admiral, I'm receiving a priority message from General Ward at Earth Command." Susan nodded. "Put him through." The holographic display changed to show an older man with a weathered face and tired eyes. "Admiral Harris," he said without greeting, "the Council has made its decision. We will not surrender." "Expected, sir," she replied. "What are our orders?" "We're activating Protocol Omega. Captain Alex Morgan and the Olive Branch will deliver our official response. This should buy us time to implement our real strategy." The general's face grew even more serious. "Admiral, you're authorized to begin waking the fleet." Susan felt her heart beat faster. Protocol Omega. The contingency plan they had hoped would never be needed. "Understood, sir. We'll begin immediately." The general nodded once and ended the transmission. Susan looked around at her officers. They had all been briefed on Protocol Omega when they received their commands. They knew what it meant. "Send the coded alert to all hidden bases," she ordered. "Mars, Jupiter's moons, Saturn's rings, the asteroid belt. It's time to show these Viridians that humanity isn't as defenseless as they think." Commander Johnson smiled grimly. "They have no idea what they've just started, do they?" Susan shook her head. "No, and by the time they realize their mistake, it will be too late." She straightened her uniform. "Humanity has been preparing for this day for generations. We've always feared we weren't alone in the universe. We've always suspected that when we met aliens, they might not come in peace." She looked back at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Viridian fleet waited, expecting an easy victory. "They're about to learn a hard lesson about humanity," she said quietly. "We don't surrender. We don't go quietly. And we are very, very good at war." Captain Alex Morgan stood on the bridge of the Olive Branch, a small diplomatic vessel named with hope that now seemed foolish. Earth's response to the Viridians sat in a sealed case beside him. He knew what it contained, a firm refusal to surrender, wrapped in diplomatic language that wouldn't soften the message. 10 minutes until we reached the designated meeting point, said Lieutenant Paul Wright from the navigation station. Alex nodded and looked around at his small crew. 12 men and women, all volunteers, all knowing the risk they were taking. Any change in the Viridian ship's status? He asked. Communications Officer Diane Morgan, his wife of 15 years, looked up from her station. No change, Captain. They're holding position at the coordinates they specified. Alex walked to her station and placed his hand briefly on her shoulder. They had argued about her joining this mission. He had wanted her safe on Earth. She had insisted that her skills were needed. In the end, duty had won over personal concerns. All systems nominal, reported engineer Gary Phillips. Though I still don't like how our sensors react near their ship. It's like looking through fog. Noted, said Alex. Just keep us running smoothly. The minutes ticked by in tense silence. The small Earth vessel approached the much larger Viridian ship. It hung in space like a dark, jagged mountain. They're hailing us, said Diane, her voice professional despite the tension. On screen, ordered Alex. The alien face appeared on the main display. The same ambassador from the original message. Its 4 eyes blinked in that unsettling pattern. Captain Morgan, it said. You bring your planet's response. Alex nodded once. I do, Ambassador Zorik. I am authorized to deliver Earth's official reply and to discuss terms if needed. The alien made a sound that might have been a laugh. There are no terms to discuss, only acceptance or consequences. Nevertheless, said Alex, I request permission to come aboard and deliver our message in person, as diplomatic protocol suggests. The alien was silent for a moment. Permission granted. Dock at the highlighted port. You may bring 2 officers with you. The transmission ended. Do you think they suspect anything? Asked Lieutenant Wright. Alex shook his head. No, they're too confident. He turned to Diane. Send a coded update to Earth Command. Let them know we're proceeding. While Diane sent the message, Alex selected Lieutenant Wright and Engineer Phillips to accompany him. The 3 men checked their formal uniforms and prepared for the meeting. The olive branch docked with a massive alien vessel. Alex felt a slight shudder as the ships connected. Good luck, said Diane as the 3 officers prepared to exit. Alex looked back at her and nodded once, both of them maintaining professionalism despite their personal connection. The delegation walked through the airlock and was met by 2 tall Viridian guards who led them through curved corridors of a strange dark metal. They arrived at a large room where Ambassador Zorik waited with several other aliens. Your response, demanded Zorik without greeting. Alex stepped forward and opened the case. He removed a small data crystal and a traditional paper document. Earth's official reply, he said, keeping his voice steady. The ambassador took the items and placed them on a nearby surface without looking at them. I already know what they say, said Zorik. Your leaders are proud. They refuse. Alex kept his face neutral. I am authorized to discuss. There is nothing to discuss, interrupted Zorik. Its voice had changed, becoming colder. Your species had one chance to join the collective peacefully. Suddenly, all the alien guards raised their weapons. What is this? Demanded Alex, though he had expected betrayal. A demonstration, said Zorik. For all who defy the collective. In Earth's orbital command center, General Frank Watson watched the live feed from the olive branch's hidden cameras. He saw the guards raise their weapons, saw the flash as they fired. Then the transmission went dead. Beside him, a junior officer gasped. Frank didn't move, didn't speak. He stared at the blank screen for 5 long seconds. Then, very quietly, he said, activate protocol Thermopylae. The destruction of the olive branch played on every screen on Earth. The Viridians had broadcast the attack themselves, wanting humanity to witness their power. They expected fear. They expected panic. They expected surrender. They were wrong. Deep beneath the surface of Mars, Commander Olivia Carter walked through a massive underground hangar that officially did not exist. Around her, hundreds of ships came to life. Ships that had been built in secret over the past 30 years. "Status report," she said to her executive officer. "All vessels powering up on schedule," replied Lieutenant Jeff Bell. "Crews are boarding. Weapon systems are hot. We'll be ready to launch in 40 minutes. Olivia nodded, watching as pilots and crew members hurried to their ships. None of them spoke much. They had all watched the olive branch die. Many had lost friends on that vessel. "The Viridians think they just showed their strength," she said quietly. "All they did was sign their own death warrant." On Titan, Saturn's largest moon, Colonel Jason Wright stood in the control center of the largest manufacturing facility humans had ever built. The enormous underground complex had been constructing advanced weapons for decades, all based on technology recovered from an alien crash site in 2082. "Bring the production lines to maximum output," he ordered. "I want every fighter armed with the new quantum torpedoes." "Yes, sir," replied his production chief. "What about the prototype carriers?" "Launch them too," said Jason. "Everything we have goes into this fight." In the asteroid belt, Admiral Luis Ortiz watched as his fleet of stealth destroyers disengaged their camouflage systems. For years, these ships had hidden among the rocks, appearing on scanners as nothing more than ordinary asteroids. Now their true nature was revealed as weapon systems came online and engines warmed up. "The Viridians have 27 warships," he told his bridge crew. "We have 43 in this sector alone. And they have no idea we exist." Meanwhile, on Earth, people were not panicking as the aliens had expected. Instead, civilians calmly reported to their designated emergency stations. For generations, humanity had been preparing for this possibility. Schools had run drills. Governments had built shelters. Everyone knew what to do if aliens ever attacked. In his command center, General Frank Watson watched the global response with grim satisfaction. The public face of Earth's military might was the small defensive fleet in orbit, a dozen ships that the Viridians could easily destroy. That was deliberate. Humanity had always excelled at appearing weaker than it truly was. "Sir," said a communications officer, "we're receiving status updates from all hidden bases. Mars fleet reports ready in 30 minutes. Jupiter's moons report ready in 45. Saturn's rings and Titan report ready in 1 hour. Asteroid belt forces are already mobilizing." Frank nodded. "And the special projects?" A different officer spoke up. "Project Nemesis is online, sir. The quantum disruption field is ready to deploy. It should completely disable Viridian shielding technology for approximately 6 minutes. And our ground teams. Lieutenant Kyle Bennett and his special forces are already en route to the Viridian flagship. Their stealth shuttle passed through the alien detection grid 5 minutes ago. No signs they were spotted." Frank allowed himself a small smile. Humanity had spent centuries telling stories about alien invasions. Their fiction had imagined every possible scenario, and while they hoped for peaceful first contact, they had prepared for war. On board the Viridian flagship, Supreme Commander Zalthrix reviewed the human response to their demonstration. Their satellites showed no mass movement of populations. Their intercepted communications revealed no panic in government channels. "Curious," he said to his chief intelligence officer. "They seem almost prepared." "They are a primitive species," replied the officer. "Their ships are vastly inferior to ours. Perhaps they simply do not understand the situation." Zalthrix was not convinced. "Begin a deeper analysis of human history," he ordered. "I want to know more about how these creatures fight." He stared at the image of Earth on his display. Something didn't feel right. The humans were too calm, too organized. It almost seemed like they had been waiting for this day. Supreme Commander Xalthrix studied the stream of information about human history with growing concern. The more he learned, the less he liked what he saw. These humans, he said to his chief strategist, they have been at war with each other constantly throughout their history. A sign of a primitive species, replied the strategist. They fight among themselves because they lack unity. The collective will give them purpose. Xalthrix wasn't convinced. Look at their entertainment, their games, even their economic systems. Everything is based on competition, on conflict. He brought up images of human sports, business rivalries, and political contests. They don't just accept struggle, they celebrate it. The strategist shifted uncomfortably. What are you suggesting, Supreme Commander? I am suggesting that we may have misjudged these creatures. Every other species we encountered viewed conflict as a necessary evil, something to be avoided when possible. Xalthrix enlarged an image of human children playing a game with a ball. Humans teach their young to compete from birth. They are not simply capable of war. They are designed for it. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Kyle Bennett and his team of 5 Special Forces operatives moved silently through the ventilation system of the Viridian flagship. They wore advanced stealth suits that bent light around them and masked their body heat. 2 guards ahead, whispered Sergeant Cindy Lee, checking the readings on her tactical display. Standard patrol pattern. Kyle nodded. They had been studying Viridian ship designs and crew routines for years, ever since Earth's deep space probes had secretly observed the aliens in distant star systems. The Viridians thought this was first contact. They were wrong. Hold position until they pass, Kyle ordered. Remember, we're not here to fight. Our only mission is to plant the quantum disruptors at the shield generators. The team waited as the guards moved through the corridor below them. Each member carried a small device that looked like a metal disc. When activated, these disruptors would create a temporary weakness in the Viridian shields, a weakness that the human fleet could exploit. On Earth, in the underground war room beneath the Pacific Ocean, the leaders of the major nations watched as reports came in from across the solar system. The Mars fleet is mobilized, announced the Chinese president. My country's ships are ready. The European Union's carriers have launched from Jupiter's moons, added another leader. Our fighters are moving into position. President Alan Clark of the United States looked at the holographic display showing the positions of Earth's hidden forces and our special operation. General Watson nodded. Bennett's team is on schedule. Once they plant the disruptors, we'll have our window to strike. The Viridians expect us to beg for mercy, said the Russian president. They do not understand humans. No one ever does, replied President Clark with a grim smile. Throughout our history, we've faced extinction many times. Ice ages, plagues, nuclear weapons, climate change. Each time, we survived because we refused to surrender. Back on the Viridian flagship, Kyle's team reached the primary shield generator. It was a massive chamber with glowing energy columns that pulsed with power. Plant the disruptors according to the plan, Kyle ordered. 20-second delay. Then we get out. The team moved quickly, placing the small devices at strategic points around the generator. Sergeant Lee was setting the final disruptor when a Viridian engineer entered the chamber. The alien froze, its 4 eyes fixed on the human it could somehow see despite the stealth technology. It reached for its communication device. Kyle had no choice. He fired his silent weapon once. The Viridian dropped to the floor. We're blown, said Kyle. Finish the placement and let's move. We have 3 minutes until they find the body. As they rushed back toward their extraction point, Kyle knew they might not make it out alive. But it didn't matter. The mission was what counted. Humanity's survival was worth any price. In his command center, Xalthrix received more historical data about humans. He watched footage of their wars, their sports, their survival against natural disasters. Prepare a full analysis of human military capabilities, he ordered suddenly. Not just their visible defenses, I want to know what they might be hiding. His officers looked confused, but obeyed. Zolthrix had led conquests across 3 sectors of the galaxy. He had subjugated dozens of species, and for the first time in his long career, he felt something unfamiliar. Doubt. Captain Samantha Lewis stood on the bridge of the USN Defiant, hidden in the shadow of Neptune. Her crew worked silently at their stations, waiting for the order to move. The Defiant was one of Earth's newest ships, equipped with technology that most humans didn't know existed. "Captain," called out her sensor officer, "I'm picking up multiple ships approaching from the outer system." Samantha tensed. Had the Viridians discovered their position? "Not Viridian signatures," continued the officer. "These are. I've never seen anything like this before." "On screen," ordered Samantha. The main display showed a group of strange vessels approaching. They were unlike any ships humans had designed. Some looked like giant crystals that somehow moved through space. Others resembled clouds of light, held together by thin metal frames. "They're hailing us," said Communications Officer Ben Wilson. "Using? This can't be right. They're using our own encrypted channels." "How is that possible?" asked Samantha. "Put them through." The screen changed to show an alien face. It wasn't Viridian. This creature had pale blue skin and large, expressive eyes. "Greetings, humans," it said in perfect English. "I am Keeler of the Turillian people. We have been watching your resistance to the Viridian Collective with great interest." Samantha kept her expression neutral. "How did you find us? How do you know our communication protocols?" The alien made a sound like gentle laughter. "We have been studying you for some time, just as you have been studying the Viridians. We are not your enemies." "Then what are you?" "We are slaves of the Collective, as are the Andari, the Lox, and many others." Keeler's expression hardened. "We have waited generations for someone to stand against our oppressors. You are not alone in this fight, Captain Lewis." In his underground laboratory on Earth, Dr. Eric Ramirez received the transmission from the Defiant. As Earth's leading xenobiologist, he had theorized that the Viridians might have conquered other species, but having proof was extraordinary. "Can we trust them?" asked his assistant. Eric studied the data on the new aliens. "We have no choice. But look at this." He pointed to the scanner readings. "Their ships show signs of Viridian design, but with modifications. They've been adapting their master's technology, improving it in secret." He opened a communication channel to General Watson. "General, I believe these aliens are genuine. They've been oppressed by the Viridians for centuries, and they see our resistance as their opportunity for freedom." Back on the Defiant, Samantha made her decision. "Keeler, we welcome your assistance, but I need proof of your intentions." The Turillian nodded. "We thought you might." The screen split to show a different view. A Viridian patrol ship floated in space. Suddenly, one of the crystal-like alien vessels appeared next to it. There was a flash of light, and the Viridian ship simply disappeared. "Completely disintegrated," reported the sensor officer. "No debris, no energy signature, just gone." Keeler's face returned to the full screen. "We have technologies the Viridians don't know about. We've been hiding our true capabilities, waiting for the right moment." Samantha smiled for the first time in days. "I think we're going to get along very well." In the war room on Earth, the leaders watched the exchange with hope and caution. "More allies," said President Clark. "But can we trust them?" "Trust is a luxury in war," replied the Russian president. "But common enemies make for strong bonds." General Watson added, "Captain Lewis is right to be careful, but we need all the help we can get." On the Viridian flagship, alarms suddenly blared. Zolthrix rushed to the command center. "What is happening?" he demanded. "One of our patrol ships has disappeared," reported an officer. "Near the outer system. No distress call. No debris." "Show me," ordered Zolthrix. The display showed empty space where the ship should have been. "Could it be the humans?" asked his second-in-command. Zolthrix frowned. "Scan for any other vessel signatures." The scan showed nothing, but Salthrix wasn't convinced. Something had destroyed that ship, something with technology that could hide from their sensors. "Begin the attack on Earth immediately," he ordered. "No more waiting." "But Supreme Commander, our plan was to." "Do it now." Salthrix snapped. "Something isn't right. We need to crush these humans before they can surprise us." As the Viridian fleet began moving toward Earth, Salthrix didn't know that his empire was about to face not just one species fighting for survival, but many fighting for freedom. Major Lisa Ward moved quickly through the underground complex known as Edison Base, located beneath the Movave Desert. This facility had been developing hybrid technologies for decades. Technologies that combined human innovation with reverse-engineered alien systems. "Status report," she called out as she entered the main lab. "The quantum virus is ready," replied Dr. Alan Green, chief programmer of the Edison protocol. "Once uploaded to the Viridian network, it will rewrite their operating systems. Their weapons, shields, and navigation will be under our control for approximately 8 minutes." Lisa nodded. "And delivery?" "Lieutenant Bennett's team has planted the access points. As soon as they activate the shield disruptors, we can transmit the virus." Around them, technicians monitored screens filled with code that looked like a mixture of human programming languages and something far more alien. This was the result of 20 years of secret work, combining Earth's best minds with technology recovered from crashed Viridian scout ships. "The Viridians think they're dealing with primitives," said Lisa. "They have no idea what we're capable of." In space, Rear Admiral Peter Collins watched from the bridge of the carrier USN Invincible as his crews prepared the newest weapon in Earth's arsenal. The high ships looked like ordinary transport vessels from the outside. Inside, each contained thousands of microfighters, each one barely larger than a coffee cup. "Launch sequence initiated," reported his flight controller. "Hive 1 is ready to deploy." Peter smiled. The Viridians rely on targeting systems designed to track large vessels or conventional fighters. These microfighters were too small, too numerous, and too unpredictable for those systems to handle. "Release the swarm," he ordered. The front of the transport vessel opened like a flower blooming. From within, a cloud of tiny metal craft emerged, each controlled by a distributed AI network. They moved together like a flock of birds, flowing through space in patterns no traditional pilot could achieve. "The Viridians won't know what hit them," said his executive officer. "That's the idea," replied Peter. "Humanity has always excelled at thinking outside the box." On Earth, in a secure facility under the Atlantic Ocean, Commander Greg Foster prepared his Marines for their part in the operation. 50 men and women in advanced combat suits stood ready for the most dangerous mission of all, teleporting directly onto the Viridian flagship. "Listen up," Greg addressed his troops. "When Bennett's team activates the shield disruptors, we'll have a 6-minute window to teleport aboard their command ship. Our objective is simple: capture or eliminate the Viridian leadership." A young Marine raised her hand. "Sir, won't they expect a boarding action?" Greg shook his head. "No, because until today, humans have never successfully teleported living material. They have no reason to think we can do something we've publicly failed at for years." The Marines looked at each other. None of them had known that teleportation was actually possible until they were selected for this mission. "The technology is experimental," admitted Greg. "But it works. We've been keeping it secret, along with many other advances, because humanity has always understood something the Viridians don't. The element of surprise is the greatest weapon of all." On the Viridian flagship, Supreme Commander Xalthrix received more disturbing reports. Long-range sensors detected multiple energy signatures emerging from hiding places throughout the solar system. Human vessels that shouldn't exist. Far more than their intelligence had indicated. "Impossible," muttered his chief strategist. "Our scans showed only 12 defensive ships." "They deceived us," said Xalthrix, his voice cold with anger. "These humans are not the simple creatures we thought them to be. Our fleet still outmatches theirs, insisted the strategist. "Our technology is superior." Zolthrix wasn't so certain. He had studied more human history now. He had seen how these beings adapted, how they overcame superior forces through innovation and deception, how they turned enemy strengths into weaknesses. "Send word to all ships," ordered Zolthrix. "Maximum alert status. Be prepared for unconventional tactics." As the Viridian fleet approached Earth, they remained confident in their superior numbers and technology. But for the first time in the collective's long history of conquest, a seed of doubt had been planted. They didn't know about the swarms of microfighters approaching from behind. They didn't know about the quantum virus waiting to invade their systems. They didn't know about the teleportation strike team preparing to board their flagship. And they didn't know that humanity had been preparing for this fight since before they even knew the Viridians existed. The Viridian fleet moved toward Earth in perfect formation. 27 warships, each capable of destroying an entire city. Their weapons powered up as they passed the orbit of Mars. To their sensors, Earth appeared nearly defenseless. A handful of small military vessels orbited the planet, along with civilian stations and satellites. It looked like easy prey. Supreme Commander Zolthrix stood on his command deck, watching the approach on the main screen. "Begin the attack sequence," he ordered. "Target their orbital defenses first, then their major military installations." His officers relayed the commands. The fleet adjusted its course slightly. Weapon systems locked onto the human ships. "Energy signatures detected behind us," reported a sensor officer suddenly. Multiple vessels appearing from everywhere. Zolthrix spun around. "Show me." The display changed to reveal dozens of human ships emerging from hiding places throughout the solar system. Some appeared from behind Mars. Others rose from the surface of moons. Still more deactivated stealth systems that had made them invisible until now. "Impossible," whispered Zolthrix. "Where did they come from?" On the USN Intrepid, Admiral Susan Harris watched as Earth's true fleet revealed itself. Ships from every nation on Earth, built in secret over decades, now moved into attack positions. "All vessels in position," reported Commander Bill Johnson. "The Viridians are surrounded." Susan nodded. "Lieutenant Porter, open a channel to all our ships." When the channel was ready, Susan spoke clearly and calmly. "This is Admiral Harris. The Viridians came to our home expecting to find an easy conquest. Instead, they found humanity united and ready. Today we show them, and any who might follow, that Earth is not, and will never be, an easy target." She paused. "Commence Operation Thunderbolt." Across the solar system, human ships launched their attacks, but not in the way the Viridians expected. Instead of conventional naval tactics, each group used different approaches. The Mars fleet executed maneuvers from ancient Roman warfare, splitting into smaller units that attacked from multiple angles. The Jupiter forces used guerrilla tactics, striking quickly then retreating behind moons. The asteroid belt ships employed swarm techniques developed from online gaming strategies. No Viridian algorithm could predict these movements. Their battle computers tried to find patterns and failed. On the Viridian flagship, alarms blared as small objects appeared on their sensors, approaching rapidly from behind. "What are those?" demanded Zolthrix. "Too small to be fighters," replied an officer. "Possibly debris ore." The ship shuddered as the first wave of microfighters struck. Thousands of tiny vessels swarmed around the Viridian ships, targeting sensors, weapon ports, and communication arrays with precision strikes. At that exact moment, Lieutenant Kyle Bennett activated the quantum disruptors. Across the Viridian flagship, small devices pulsed with energy. "Shield disruptors active," Kyle reported through his secure comlink. "You have 6 minutes." In the war room on Earth, Dr. Alan Green nodded to Major Lisa Ward. "Uploading the Edison protocol now." Lisa watched as the quantum virus flowed through the temporary gap in the Viridian shields. It spread through their network like water through cracks. "Upload complete," announced Alan. "Their systems are ours for the next 8 minutes." Across the Viridian fleet, ships suddenly lost control. Weapons powered down. Engines cut out. Communication systems fell silent. Zolthrix stared in horror as his displays flickered and changed. Strange symbols flowed across the screens. Commands he entered did nothing. "What is happening?" he shouted. Before anyone could answer, the air around him began to shimmer. Zolthrix reached for his weapon as 5 human figures materialized on his command deck. They wore black armor and carried weapons he had never seen before. Commander Greg Foster stepped forward, his weapon aimed at Zolthrix's head. "Supreme Commander," he said calmly, "I suggest you surrender." Around them, more humans appeared throughout the ship. 50 elite Marines, teleporting directly past all defenses. Zolthrix looked at these humans with new understanding. His species had conquered 87 worlds. They had never lost a war. They had never even faced a serious challenge. Until now. Outside, the human fleet closed in. The ships of the former slave species joined them, eager for revenge against their oppressors. The Viridian formation, once perfect, was now in chaos. On the USN Intrepid, Admiral Harris watched the battle unfold exactly as planned. "Send the surrender terms," she ordered. "Let's see if they're smart enough to accept them." Supreme Commander Zolthrix stood in Earth's orbital command center, surrounded by human officers. Through the wide window, he could see his once mighty fleet now held in position by human ships and vessels from former slave worlds of the collective. "Your terms are unusual," he said, looking at the document before him. General Frank Watson stood across the table, his face showing no emotion. "They are fair, considering the circumstances." Zolthrix had expected demands for technology, for resources, perhaps even for Viridian territory. Instead, the humans wanted something different. They proposed a new form of galactic cooperation, not the forced unity of the collective, but a true alliance of equals. "You could have destroyed us," said Zolthrix. "Your weapons, your tactics, we were unprepared." Admiral Susan Harris, who had joined them from the Intrepid, nodded. "We could have. But that's not our goal. Humanity doesn't seek to replace one empire with another." In the room next door, Captain Samantha Lewis met with representatives from the Trillians, Andari, and other former slave species. Their discussions were equally surprising to the aliens. The humans proposed freedom for all worlds under Viridian control, but not revenge or punishment. "We've studied your history," said Keeler, the Trillian leader. "Your species has known many wars, many conquerors. Yet you do not seek to become conquerors yourselves." "We've learned from our mistakes," replied Samantha. "Earth was divided for most of our history. Nations fought nations. Now we are united, and we understand that true strength comes from cooperation, not domination." Meanwhile, Lieutenant Kyle Bennett watched the Viridian officers being escorted to temporary quarters, not as prisoners, but as guests under guard. His mission had succeeded beyond all expectations. Not only had they disabled the Viridian shields, but they had captured the entire command staff without a single human casualty. "Hard to believe it worked so well," said Sergeant Cindy Lee, standing beside him. Kyle nodded. "They never expected us to have teleportation technology, or quantum viruses, or microfighters." He smiled slightly. "Humanity's greatest advantage has always been our creativity." In the medical bay, Dr. Eric Ramirez studied Viridian biology with fascination. With the fighting over, his focus had returned to science and understanding. "Their physical structure is remarkable," he told his assistant. 4 hearts, distributed nervous system, regenerative skin. We can learn so much from each other." Across Earth, people watched broadcasts showing the alien ships now in orbit, no longer as threats but as visitors. After generations of science fiction stories about hostile aliens, the reality had been both better and worse than imagined. Yes, they had faced an invasion, but they had also found new allies among the stars. President Alan Clark addressed the United Nations, representatives from the freed alien worlds sitting among Earth's leaders. Today marks a new chapter in human history, he said. We have proven ourselves on the galactic stage, not just through our strength in battle, but through our vision for peace. The Viridian Collective sought to conquer. We seek to connect. In the Orbital Command Center, Zolthrix finally understood the fundamental error his people had made. The Viridians had evaluated humans based on their visible technology, their apparent defenses. They had not considered the invisible strengths, ingenuity, determination, unity in the face of threats, and most surprisingly, mercy in victory. I will sign your agreement, he said at last, and I will recommend that the Collective's ruling council accept these terms as well. General Watson nodded once. A wise decision. As Zolthrix put his mark on the document, he looked out at the stars visible through the window. For 3 centuries, his people had expanded unchallenged across the galaxy. That era was now over. You know, he said quietly, in all our conquests, we never encountered a species that hid their true capabilities as you did. Why such deception? Admiral Harris smiled slightly. It wasn't deception. It was preparation. Humanity has always hoped for peace among the stars, but we prepared for war. Hope for the best, plan for the worst. It's an old human saying. Zolthrix nodded slowly. A wise philosophy, one the Collective should have considered. As news of the agreement spread throughout the solar system, cheers erupted on ships and in cities across Earth. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged not just victorious, but transformed. No longer alone in the universe, they had found both adversaries and allies.